What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. I don't know what time you're seeing this video. Of course, I've got an exam today, so it may not be released at 4, but if you're seeing this today, then I've definitely done a semi-decent job getting it to you guys on time. As always, this is my championship score predictions that I do on the weekend. As always, you comment your predictions in the comments down below, and if you get a correct score, you will get a shout out and you'll be in the Let's Sort of Fame. And speaking of shout outs, we had midweek games and your comment will be on the screen right now if you got a correct score in midweeks. Up to 4 of you did, and the special shout out goes to Owen Armitage, who got 2 correct scores. I had a very frustrating week. I did get 1 correct, which was the Brentford and Swansea game, but I was within 2 minutes away of getting 3, but Macaulay Bonne and Wycombe had to find a way to break my heart. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now. Joshua Fruit is still the leader with 20 correct predictions. I'm slightly behind on 18. So it's not impossible, but I need to somehow breach that gap this weekend. If you guys like what you see, you want to see more content, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. This is going to be the last score predictions before the international break now. What might happen to the channel is that you may not see a lot of me because I will be doing university stuff. But I will be thinking of you guys, and I'll be thinking that I can try and fit some things in, but it'll be likely you won't see me until the next score predictions, which will be in 2 weeks today. But if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really made my day. We're on 318 the last time I checked. And if you're new around here, my name's Alex. I do football and championship score predictions videos as often as I can. Please share my videos to as many people as you can. And of course, in the second half of the video, I'm also going to predict the Premier League scores. So we've got a little bit of everything. But without any further ado, let's start predicting this weekend's games. And what a start to the weekend we have this weekend. Today, we've got a 7-side derby to kick things off. Cardiff against Bristol City. And honestly, I actually don't think these sides could be any closer right now. But if I'm a little bit more confident with one side, it would be Bristol City. And I know that may be a kiss of death following how inconsistent Bristol City can be. But I've been moderately impressed with their attacking prowess this season. And even with the many injuries they've got in the back, most notably Alfie Mawson and Steven Sessegnon, they've really taken those injuries on the chin and have actually still managed to climb themselves up the table. They're 7th place right now, so they've dropped out of the top 6. But they're still joint on points with Middlesbrough, and a good result this weekend can see them back there. As for Cardiff, they've been a little bit inconsistent. They've had 3 wins, but also 3 defeats so far as well. But I wouldn't say Cardiff are performing any badly. I actually think Cardiff have been a little bit unlucky with some certain games. And I think being at home against Bristol City, I think will be a fantastic game and an opportunity for Cardiff to stake a claim. And they'll close the gap with Bristol City by 1 point if they do get a win this weekend. Both sides, of course, had a win in midweek. Cardiff blowing Barnsley out of the way in a good run of form by 3-0. Harry Wilson being absolutely terrific in that game. And Shea Oju, I mean, what a player he's turning out to be. Bristol City completed a comeback against Huddersfield. First 70 or so minutes, I don't think they were very good. Final 20 minutes, when Dean Holden introduced Anthony Semenyo, he really changed the game. And I think he's got to at least get a start, if not make a very early substitute appearance for Bristol City, because I actually think he really changed the game for Bristol City. For a score prediction, I really can't separate the two sides. Both had encouraging performances, could be 0-0, but I'm going to have a little bit of faith that this will be a 1-1 draw. FIFA 21, of course, has actually already predicted its games if you saw my live stream yesterday. I'm going to leave a pinned comment of all the FIFA 21 score predictions in the comments. But if you saw the stream, you would know that FIFA 21 has predicted Bristol City to win this game by 1-0. Next game to go over is the early Saturday game. We've got Reading going up against Stoke City. A game I actually don't think there'll be many goalmouth actions in, if I'm going to be honest with you. Reading right now, I mean, after having such a positive start, only conceding 3 goals in their first 7 games, all of a sudden now, in their last 3 games, they conceded up to 8 goals in their last 3 games, which is not encouraging defensively for Reading right now. With Stoke right now, they were very unlucky not to get anything against Watford. I know they didn't have a lot of the ball, but in terms of chances go, especially in the second half, and especially for how controversial Watford were given their first goal, I think Stoke were very unlucky not to get an away point from it. But with this game though, I actually think Stoke could really go for this one. I think away from home as well, I think Stoke have been a little bit better than what they have been at home so far. As a score prediction, I don't know why, but I look at Stoke and I think that they can literally ruin this Reading side. I really do. I think Reading right now are going to go a little bit of a fall in form, and then Panovic is going to have to try and pick it up. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Stoke. Their last 5 meetings between the two sides has actually ended in a draw. So I probably should predict a draw, maybe even 0-0, but I'm going to back Stoke 1-0. And funny that FIFA 21 has predicted a 0-0 draw, so it'll be interesting to see which one of us is right. Now we go to the 3 o'clock. So we start off with Birmingham going up against Bournemouth. And for me, Bournemouth's first defeat of the season against Sheffield Wednesday has blown the championship Championship wide open, and I'll go on to Sheffield Wednesday soon. But their defeat against Sheffield Wednesday, where they looked pretty poor, I won't lie, in this whole entire game. They were separated by a penalty from Barry Bannon and a red card from Steve Cook as well. But Bournemouth created close to nothing in that game. Nothing that you would tend to see with this Bournemouth side. And for the fact I thought they were being a bit untouchable, Bournemouth are now falling all the way down to 5th. I think it's going to be very competitive this year. They play a Birmingham side when they've not done too well. I mean, Birmingham right now are a weird team to predict. You see one great result, then you see one poor result. Obviously, they lost to Wycombe Wanderers in midweek at home as well. Their first home defeat of the season as well, following Wycombe's first away win as well. So Birmingham would definitely want to respond in this game. It's just going to depend how energised this Bournemouth side is. There could be signs and indications that Bournemouth are getting a little bit tired and they'll be really wanting this international break as soon as this game ends so they can recharge their batteries. As a prediction, it's really tough to predict, but I think I'm also going to edge for a 1-1 draw. I could easily see Birmingham taking the lead, but I think eventually Bournemouth's persistence will pay off. Birmingham, I think, will actually be more likely to win than Bournemouth, in my honest opinion, following with a really pedantic style that they play. FIFA 21 has actually predicted 1-0 victory to Birmingham, which would have been my alternative result. Next up, we've got Blackburn going up against Queen's Park Rangers. Both sides who've actually had a clean sheet in midweek, but with varying results. Blackburn, of course, managed to keep a clean sheet against Middlesbrough, although it was a 0-0 draw, their second 0-0 draw of the season. Their other 0-0 draw was against Cardiff, who play quite a similar style actually. In terms of Queen's Park Rangers, though, they'll benefit more because they got a 1-0 win, and it's Macaulay Bonne, who I tell you what, has been a very important player. And I think following the dip of form of Lyndon Dykes not really finding his confidence, the only goals Dykes has scored has actually been from the penalty spot. Macaulay Bonne is such an important player, and he could turn out to be one of Queen's Park Rangers' biggest signings this season. Of course, that was the difference against Derby. With this game, I think it's going to be a lot tougher. I think Blackburn at Ewood Park have proven to be quite strong. Of course, their last game at Ewood Park was a close contest against Reading, and they put up a hell of a fight against a very informed team. In this game now, Queen's Park Rangers don't have a very strong record against this Blackburn side, and I think with the attacking options Blackburn do have, and for the fact that Blackburn have not been getting great results recently, Blackburn are just inconsistent. They'll get bad results, then they'll get good results. And I think this week, they'll get a good result. I'm going to edge the home side for a 2-1 victory. I think it's going to be very, very tight. I was thinking 2-0, but I'll stick to my guns and say 2-1. FIFA 21 has actually predicted a 1-1 draw between these two sides. Next game to predict is Brentford versus Middlesbrough. Now, if you wanted to see a game of two contrasting styles, this is the game to watch. It's going to be very interesting to see which style goes up on top. And points-wise, not a lot separates them. Only 2 points separate them. If Brentford get a win, they can overtake Middlesbrough and get into the top 6 as well, where I think that with the squad they have, they should be. Middlesbrough right now starting the season incredibly well and have not lost since the opening game of the season, meaning going into Matchday 11, they are unbeaten in 9 games. Middlesbrough are definitely the informed team of the Championship right now, and all credit is due to Neil Warnock. He knows how to get his side drilled defensively. Whilst it has resulted in with a few draws, they've actually got more draws than they have with wins so far. If they get their goal scoring improved, then Middlesbrough can definitely surge up the table. Brentford right now actually matched Middlesbrough in terms of wins, although they've already had 3 defeats this season. In terms of this game though, as I said, we're going to have a high pressing, high possession team against a slow, pedantic but counter-attacking team. So it's going to be really interesting to see which team goes up on top. And for me, none of them will. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw again. I'm for sure going to get one of these scores right because I'm going to get a load of 1-1 draws this weekend. FIFA 21 has actually predicted a 0-0 draw, which I thoroughly disagree with. I'll be very surprised if Brentford cannot score in this game. So next up, we've got Derby going up against Barnsley. Derby right now in 23rd place, sandwiched between a team with a 6-point deduction and Wycombe. Derby are definitely not having a great start with already 6 defeats in their first 10 games with only 1 win, which was that Ray Rooney free kick against Norwich. They've only scored 5 goals this season. 5 goals. 3 of them have been free kicks. That explains me a huge problem in terms of Derby trying to build up from the back and to get a goal. For me, it's the system. If they can only score up to 2 proper goals from starting at the back and actually stringing passes and getting the goal, Derby need to address it as soon as they can. Barnsley right now had a bit of a honeymoon period when Vermeer and Ishmael came in. He got 2 wins in his first 2 games in charge. Of course, had a very poor defeat against Cardiff away from home though. And maybe away from home, Ishmael cannot really figure out how to get his side to win just yet. But against this Derby side, who have not picked up a win at home so far, maybe this is the sort of game where Ishmael needs to go gung-ho for it. I was thinking 1-1, I was thinking 1-0 Barnsley, I was thinking 0-0. I've compromised and said 1-1. I've predicted quite a few 0-0 draws, but then I find out anytime I predicted 0-0 draw, it just turns 1-1. So I'm going to use that reverse psychology, and hopefully that works this weekend. And FIFA 21 has actually predicted a 0-0 draw, which would have been my prediction as well. So it'll be interesting to see who's right. Next game to go over is Huddersfield against Luton Town. Both sides with pretty somewhat encouraging starts, but especially from the away side. With the home side right now with Huddersfield Town, they've already got 5 defeats this season. Obviously, they had a really poor start for losing their first 2 games. But having said that, they did pick up their form a little bit. They're playing some really positive stuff under Carlos Corberán, in my opinion. But a habit for Huddersfield they are having, they're dropping points from winning positions, and they need to address that. And that's exactly what happened in midweek against Bristol City. They need to make sure that they can either kill games off and score plenty of goals, or when they score a goal, be defensively tight. And I did have a bit of doubt with their back line, especially with the Carlos Corberán high attacking system, because naturally Leeds are having that problem in the Premier League as well, losing 4-1 to Leicester last weekend as well. So if Huddersfield could just improve defensively, Huddersfield could be such a good side. With Luton right now, I tell you what, Luton don't play the prettiest football, but they find results and they find a way to win. And that's exactly what they did against Rotherham. They withered the storm a little bit, especially in the first half, because I thought Rotherham were quite good first half. Second half though, I think Nathan Jones got his tactics spot on. Luton looked so much better, so much brighter. It's easy to watch Luton. I remember at the start of the season, I was thinking, oh, can they hold on? Can they hold on to these points? Now I can literally just sit back and look and just see this Luton side just completely thriving in the Championship. It's a brilliant sight to see, but with this game, it's going to be really, really close in my opinion. Obviously, the last meeting they had at the Johnson Stadium, it was after lockdown, and it was a 2-0 victory for Luton Town, which really propelled their chances of survival, with Elliot Lee scoring a stunner. I'm going to say that this is going to be a Luton win again. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory, because for me, I think Luton looked so good. It will be a lot like Luton to win a game then lose a game. There's no doubt about it. I think Huddersfield do have every chance. But I think with the squad so far and for how they're performing, I just cannot back anyone else but Luton Town right now. FIFA 21 has actually predicted the opposite and predicted a Huddersfield 2-1 win. So it'll be interesting to see who's right. Then undoubtedly the game I'm most excited for this weekend is Norwich versus Swansea, second going up against third. This is going to be a very, very tight game. And honestly, I actually don't see many goals in this game. I think this could be very, very cagey. And we've seen a couple of these games, especially with both of these sides, actually. Norwich, of course, had a 0-0 draw with Millwall, where I thought they were really, really good. With Swansea right now, I mean, it's incredible what Swansea are doing right now. They've only lost 1 game, Swansea, so far, which was a defeat against Huddersfield Town. Both of these sides are the 2 closest teams for catching Reading, where if I do lose this weekend, then one of these teams could be around near the top in the end of this weekend going into the international break. I did originally predict 1-1 for this game, but actually I'm going to change my mind, and this could be a risk. I'm going to say a 0-0 draw between the 2 sides. I actually think they'll draw out a stalemate. And FIFA 21 has actually edged the home side Norwich with a 1-0 win. It's going to be very, very close. Next up is Nottingham Forest going up against Wycombe. I think a closer game that many people are going to think, actually. Chris Hughton right now, he's not really propelled Nottingham Forest, hasn't he? But he has made them a lot tougher to beat now. They've only had 1 defeat in their last 6 games. So he's definitely had a positive effect. Although, having said that, they've only had 2 wins in their last 6. So Chris Hughton definitely needs to cut out the draws, get wins, and propel Forest up the table. They're 20th place, and with a squad like that, they should be nowhere near this low. Wycombe right now are 22nd place. The first time they've been off the foot of the table, though they were briefly under foot of the table following Sheffield Wednesday's reduced points deduction. But following their away win, they're now up to 22nd. And I think they could have a real chance, if they get a good result this weekend, to be out of the bottom 3 before the international break. If that's the case, then it'll be an unbelievable turnaround of form for Wycombe Wanderers. And actually, all the wins have come from when Gareth Ainsworth was not in the stadium. So maybe, like a similar David Moyes situation with West Ham, maybe Gareth Ainsworth should probably stay away. But in terms of this game, I do think Nottingham Forest will be the better side. I do think that. I think Wycombe could potentially shock Forest, but I think under Houghton now, he's now finding a way for Forest to win ugly, and they did that against Coventry. I don't think they were good against Coventry personally, but they still found a way to win, and you've got to respect Houghton and Forest for doing that. And I think it'll be a similar scenario in this game. I'm going to go for 2-1 Nottingham Forest. I think it'll be a very close game. FIFA 21 has predicted 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. So next up, we've got Rotherham going up against the away kings, Preston North End, and I think that's an understatement. Preston away from home are a completely different team away from home. At home, they look like my local team, Chelmsford City FC, but away from home, they look like prime Barcelona. I don't know how they can have such a contrast with home and away. They need to fix it though, and they need some home points. But they don't need to for this weekend because they're away from home. They're facing a Rotherham side where I think they are stuttering a little bit. They're really struggling, Rotherham, and I think, in my opinion, they play some good high-intensity football. But I do think they do have a bit of naivety in the back. And I think if they just cut that out, then Rotherham will be a much better side. Against this Preston side, who've been getting the best away form, I think Rotherham are going to struggle in this game. Unless Paul Warne changed some tactics, I think Preston will absolutely love playing Rotherham. I'm going to get the away side for a 2-1 away victory. I think especially if Preston get an early goal, we could see a few goals flying in. It was either going to be 2-1 or 1-0 to Preston. Either at 2-1, and actually FIFA 21 has actually predicted my other score. I was going to predict 1-0 Preston. We'll see who's right. And then to our penultimate game this weekend, we've got Sheffield Wednesday going up against Millwall. The biggest news in the whole championship was Sheffield Wednesday getting their points deduction reduced to 6 points. So now they're on +5 points. They are rock bottom, to be fair, but they're only 1 point behind Derby and 2 behind Wycombe. I think their survival in the championship is now much more probable. They've picked up 3 wins in their first 10 games this season, although they have lost 5 of them. So Sheffield Wednesday do need to make sure they cut out their losses, but I have to give them credit for how they've managed to recover from it. Of course, getting their points deduction reduced is going to help them, but you don't know with the EFL. EFL could literally put a further punishment on them. You just don't know what you're going to see with them. With Mill right now, they're definitely looking good defensively. I mean, it was a big improvement defensively, especially when you contrast when they were like against Huddersfield to when they were against Norwich. They were so compact defensively against this Norwich side, and I think it'll be a very similar scenario with this game against the Sheffield Wednesday side, where I think we'll be playing with a lot of positivity, aiming to climb up the table. I can only see 1 goal being within it. I was thinking 0-0, but I'm actually going to edge the away side to a 1-0 victory. We've seen a couple of these results with Millwall, where it can literally be a penalty or a set piece, and then once they get their goal, they sit back and they refuse the team to score, and I think that will be the case. And FIFA 21 has actually predicted a 0-0 draw between these sides. And then our final game this weekend is Watford going up against Coventry. Watford, I don't think they're performing in the style and the level that we'd expect them to, but they are finding ways to win, and that's what's important. They're in a rough patch of form, but now they seem to recover it, which is showing the good mentality of a championship side. But they're playing a Coventry side, which I dare say, they've only had 2 wins in their first 10 games, but they've been so unlucky, Coventry. Have you seen their performance against Nottingham Forest? I think they deserve to win personally. And of course, they did concede a penalty in the last minute of the game with Lyle Taylor doing his trademark walk and scoring it. But if they just scored more goals, Coventry could be such a good side. But they've conceded the most goals in the league, Coventry, with 20 goals conceded. That's an average of 2 goals a game. And that is ultimately why they're down in 21st place. Only 1 point against their fellow promoted rivals, Wycombe. So they cannot afford to drop many points because Wycombe will be playing positively. Derby will be desperate to get out of the bottom 3. Sheffield Wednesday could potentially starting to overtake Coventry. They can match them in points if Wednesday win and Coventry lose as well. So Coventry definitely need to start performing. They're going to be running out of chances and opportunities to avoid getting into the bottom 3. In terms of this game, I think Watford will be the strong favourites with the players that they have. Ismail Assar, João Pedro. I'm going to say 2-1 victory to Watford. And FIFA 21 is actually going to agree with me. But that is my championship score predictions for match day 11. As always, make sure you comment your predictions in the comments down below. If you get a correct score, your comment will be included and you'll get a shout out. And you'll be in the Let's Us Hall of Fame. Now, in the second part of the video, as always, we go through my Premier League predictions. Let's go through this quickly. We'll start off with tonight's game, Brighton Burnley. I'm going to say 1-0 to Brighton. I think they'll win this one. Southampton Newcastle, it's interesting. I think it'll be close. I'm going to say 1-1 draw. I think Newcastle may get a shock draw. Everton Man United, I tell you what, a lot of people are predicting Everton to win, but For me, Manchester United just always scrape the barrel with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think away from home, Man United have looked better in the Premier League. I'm going to say 2-1 away to Man United. Crystal Palace and Leeds, very close, but I'm going to edge Palace? No, I'm going to edge Leeds for a 2-1 victory. I was thinking 1-0 Palace, but I think 2-1 Leeds will be more realistic. Chelsea, Sheffield United. We've not conceded a goal for a long time, but I think we will against Sheffield United. But I'm going to say 3-1 because there's a running joke of the free UK thing that we have with our new sponsors. So I think we'll get 3 goals. West Ham and Fulham, London derby, so I'm excited to see that. I'm going to say 2-0 West Ham. West Brom, Spurs. West Brom tend to be Spurs' bogey team. So it'll be interesting if they can get a draw. But I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Spurs, because I think Jose Mourinho's got a good record against West Brom. Leicester, Wolves. I'm going to say 1-0 Wolves. We've seen Wolves do these sorts of results a couple of times already. They did it against Leeds. I think they'll do it again. Man City, Liverpool. Obviously, that's the eye-catching game. I'm going to edge Man City for this one, 2-1. Although I am wary of Diego Jota. I think he can definitely make the difference if he needs to. Arsenal and Aston Villa, really, really interesting. But I think Aston Villa are going to go a bit of a slump. I'm going to say 3-1 to Arsenal. But that is all my score predictions this weekend. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. It would really make my day. Let's push from 318 to 500 before Christmas. I believe you guys can do it. And to get the channel more popularity, please share my channel to as many people as you can. YouTubers, social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. To get my channel out there. All of that would really make my day. But that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. It's only the end of this video. And as always, take care.